all of your comments that you put in. I think that expresses pretty well a lot of frustration that we had. We actually had several bills that were put forward for across-the-board cuts. But one of the challenges that we face, and something that you pointed to, we do have some people right now that may not pay into something, but nobody wants those kids to starve. You know, we want to make sure that they're covered. And so just across-the-board cuts. We have medical care for senior citizens, and I think we feel it in particular here in rural communities. You know, I visited with a lot of doctors right now. They simply can't afford the reimbursement level that the federal government has said, this is what we will pay you. So they aren't able to take Medicare patients. But you're required by law to participate in the program for Medicare. And so we are actually seeing senior citizens being hurt, and just kind of across the board it's appealing in nature to us. But I think if Congress will do its job, we will make some of those tough choices. When we're talking about the Ag Bill, that's going to be coming up this next year. We're probably going to be taking it up actually this fall. We look at some of those entitlements for big companies. I think we need to be reducing some of those subsidies. When we're talking about loopholes, when GE doesn't pay any corporate tax, I think we need to eliminate those loopholes. I'd rather lower that tax rate because we've got the highest corporate tax rate in the world. But government, through programs, through loopholes, however we want to label them, has been making business decisions, making choices. Let's lower the tax rates. Let's just eliminate all the loopholes, and let's let business make good business decisions. They'll do it right. That's the whole point of business, is to be profitable, to be successful, and to be able to create more folks to be able to work with. But Congress needs to literally do the work. And, you know, if you do actually look through the Ryan plan, the budget that we passed out to the House of Representatives, and go through that line by line, you will see a lot of those cuts that you mentioned. And we invite the Senate once again to take this up. Let's have the debate, and let's bring it to a compromise to make sure we're doing the right thing. Because the frustration level that I feel, and I think you do too, I think the frustration level is at a huge high in this country right now. People are expecting and demanding real accountability, because when we look at our own personal checkbooks, we know our limitations. And we see a government that's acted without limitation, and we know we've got to pay the bill.
Does that include 408?
Yeah, I think some 408 needs to certainly be on the table. Well, and a lot, yeah. We've parsed words on it. You know, I think we need to be looking at that in terms of the investment for our country and the return that we are getting in terms of our national interests that are on there. Now, we need, everything needs to be on the table. It truly is.
728 and 718.
Well, it's an honor to get my Congress. I want to move this conversation a little bit to regulation, and I'll preface it very quickly. As you may know, I work in economic development and renewable energy for a governmental entity in planning. And recently, as late as today, the hot issue is the EPA putting the San Juan generation station in a position where they may have to close their doors. They've already cut 2 units down at the Four Corners Power Station. Now, the email that I got this afternoon from a Western Power Authority engineer was really at the point of being very concerned. You know, Friday I met with an engineer for PNM. They really think that there's a possibility that EPA regulation may actually put them out of business. Well, that doesn't only affect coal power generation, it affects renewable energies. Anybody that, or any entity that would want to transmit power through the Four Corners area, whether it be tri-state, even up to Empire Electric and those kind of things. So I guess my question is, what can we do to make the EPA regulation more sensitive to our economic situation? I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of jobs. What can we do to get EPA to work with us
Well, thanks, Gary, and I appreciate that question. The EPA, believe it or not, comes up at every one of the meetings that I'm in as well. I grew up here, and I think many of you did. We love where we live. We like clean air. We like clean water. We want to make sure that we can have that. But the EPA has overreached. You know, when we look at San Juan Generation Plant that's down here, I visited with Director Sheila Jackson and challenged her. The EPA has a $10.5 billion budget. Doesn't include the stimulus money that flowed into that as well. And suggested taking part of that budget to actually help fix the problem. Because we have an energy problem in this country. We need to make sure that the lights come on, the heating works, the air conditioning works, to make sure that that truly works. What if we used a portion of that budget to actually help fix the problem? That may be an approach whose time has truly have come. Because the EPA has truly overreached. If you go up to Fruita, Colorado, for the water treatment plant that they put in, this is from the folks up in Fruita, and over in Palisade as well. Palisade's maybe one of the best examples. Their base water charge that you pay just for having water delivered to your home, whether you use the allotment or not before the costs go up, it was $18 for their base water charge. After the EPA came in, and it was to treat, according to the people of Palisade, 1 tablespoon full of ammonia going into the Colorado River, that make a $17 million investment in their water treatment plant. And it now has taken that base water cost from $18 up to $39. We are seeing regulatory costs as well. I'm in favor of all of the above when it comes to energy. You know, I think let's develop solar, let's develop wind, let's develop geothermal, let's develop natural gas, let's develop the oil resources responsibly in this country. But the EPA, time and again, we challenged them in committee. There's a pretty interesting exchange before the Energy and Commerce Committee when they were challenged on a cost-benefit analysis. They've never run a cost-benefit analysis, which is what you're actually talking about, Gary. It's time that government truly understand some of the impacts. We're all in this together. And again, I want to emphasize, because we must, and I know we all share this, we all want to drink clean water, and we all want to breathe clean air. But we've seen the EPA overreach in terms of its agenda, and we have just seen organic growth in terms of regulations that are coming out of the EPA that in many cases have overreached, and I'm supporting what's called the RAINS Act. And that means that there's an economic impact of over $100 million that those regulations are going to be able to review. We are working on legislation out of my office right now. Let me ask you if you think that this is sensible. Do you think before a package of regulations goes active that the bureaucratic organization, we'll use the EPA as an example, should bring that package of regulations back to Congress for approval? Does that make sense? It makes sense to me. And here's the reason why. Those regulatory bodies draw their authority from Congress. That is the authoritative body. And it is always supposed to fit under what is called legislative intent. And we see numerous examples where regulations have far exceeded and gone far beyond the scope of legislative intent. So Congress, and we've had a few comments on that in here today, needs to manage better. So isn't it about time Congress roll up its sleeves and actually participate in the process rather than passing something that is broad, reaching, and it's going to have a lot of impact, and for the next 30 or 40 years, in the case of the EPA, we don't review anything. Because if we want to change a regulation right now, it's never been voted on. It just fits under that umbrella, meaning theoretically legislative intent. If you want to change that, it takes the proverbial act of Congress to be able to change that. That means a bill has to go through goes through committee, goes through the House, then it's passed, goes over to the Senate, goes through committee, goes through the Senate, If there are any changes, you have to have a conference committee, and then the president has to make the choice whether or not to sign that legislation. I think that Congress needs to take some responsibility, get re-involved in that process, in the interests of the American people, in the interests of taxpayers, in the interests of getting this done.
692-708.
Let's make these the last two a bit time.
Mr. Tipton, thank you for coming tonight. You're a businessman and started Mesa Verde Pottery. And I was wondering, you know, if Mesa Verde Pottery were going through hard times, losing revenues, going into the red, you would probably want to seek revenue sources as well.
There you go.
Cutting expenditures to your business. If not seeking revenue sources through tax increases for the wealthy or corporations, what other sources would you foresee for revenue to balance the budget?
For me, the revenues that I want to seek is getting Americans back to work. That is going to truly be my focus. Let me give you an example. I pulled it up right before I came here. You've all heard about the tax on corporate jets that the president was talking about. I pulled up a report that came out from union members who happen to build those jets. They're worried about their jobs. We need to be doing everything we can right now to get America back to work. The frustration level that I'm sensing throughout our district, throughout our country, I've walked across the street and visited with people in Washington who are visitors. They're worried about the future, and they're worried about jobs. So I think if we can be breaking down some of the regulations that are inhibiting job creation in this country, if we could look at the CAMS bill, Congressman Perlmutter and I are trying to be able to promote, be able to provide access to capital in this country, be able to give Americans the opportunity to do what I truly believe we do best when we're given the freedom to be able to do that. We're the most, I believe in American exceptionalism. I think we are the most innovative, creative, dynamic, and productive people on the face of the earth when we're given the opportunity to truly be able to do that. And we've been putting up roadblocks to that end. And so I wouldn't want to put myself in. I'm dealing with the reality of right now and what's going to be our best option for dealing. We've got to be responsible with our dollars. If we want to generate tax revenues for government, and government needs tax revenues to be able to operate, then we need to be able to give the American, there are a lot of potential taxpayers right now that are in unemployment lines. We need to be able to get them back to work, and that's going to be our best solution.
Well, we have our last two come up. Just a reminder, you have the sheets with you that you can fill out if you didn't get your question answered or you didn't get your question asked. And leave those with us. And one disclaimer I do want to put on that, since I have to read them, please, right, so I can read it. So, you know, and you will get a response as long as we can read it. So, thank you again.
Scott, let me interrupt for 1 second. Reading does go back. I did think that we do have a lot of unused empty buildings and the like that the federal government owns that we continue to have maintenance costs and that on. If we aren't using them, let's get rid of them rather than buying more square footage. So that's what it's like.
Number 692, did 692 pass? How about 727? Try one more. 702. 700.